Hello again. So the next unit of my course, dealing with good and bad aid in Amprakash, had to deal with the socket ball. So if you've never heard of the socket ball, it's this soccer ball, imagine. Looks something like this, but for an actual human being. This is a cat toy, of course. So what happens is during the day, you kick it around, kick it around, kick it around, and what's supposed to happen is it stores up that kinetic energy, which you can later turn into a lamp. Really neat idea, right? This was proposed as a way of solving the energy crisis, lack of access to electricity in really rural areas in poor countries. This idea was great in theory, right? I mean, very cool, very flashy, literally flashy. There's a lamp inside of it. But a few problems emerged and weren't really realized, even until a few years later, just how bad it kind of was. And again, if the founders of the soccer ball hear this video, I apologize. Really neat idea, not great in implication. So there's a few questions you should ask yourself when thinking about whether or not a product is a good idea for solving whatever problem you're looking to solve. So first you have to ask yourself if there's a need for this product or this service. So in looking at a soccer ball that you kick around, theoretically it's supposed to, be like a really fun way of storing up electricity that can be used at night. So is there a need for a soccer ball that stores electricity that can be used to power a little lamp at night? If you had gone to these communities, countries like Mexico, China, quite a few different countries in Africa, if you'd gone to these communities and asked what they need, would you have come up with the same product? So I guess my first concern is, did you really have the community's needs in mind from the very start? It doesn't really sound like they did. My second question is whether or not such product or service, whatever it is, in this case a soccer ball, would reach the people that it needs to. That depends. A lot of the countries that they were focused on had a high access to electricity. I think it was over 90% in Mexico and China. Why are they really targeting these countries with this product? Is there a really huge need for something like that when there's already electricity there? The problem is just connecting people to what's already provided. Another question that we ask, I'll have to link in the description who it was that came up with these questions or that I'm drawing this from. Does the product work? So, we could have even started with this. Apparently, there was journalism done by, what was it called? Public Radio International on this podcast, The World. And then there's a clip, it's about 10 minutes long, and they talk about going back to these communities, one in particular in Mexico, where they spoke with 10 families who had received the soccer ball, and 8 out of 10 of those families that received it, the ball broke within days to months of receiving the soccer ball or the socket ball. And I think it was supposed to last 3 years. That's according to the tech specs from the organization that started all this social entrepreneurship. So it didn't work. It fell apart. The lamp inside would rattle around, break. That's just kind of what you expect if you're gonna be getting such hard use out of something. So just from the very start, your product might not work that well either. So it's just like there was a lot going against this thing right out of the gate. You gotta keep the community's needs and wants in mind from the very beginning of the design process. And this was the result of a class project. Again, really neat idea, but I doubt that they were really in touch with the community in such a way that they learned what the real needs of that community was. I don't know, maybe they did research online, found a cool article, and came up with the idea from there, thinking that this is a way that they can access electricity. This thing was $60. With $60, given to a family, I'm sure they could have done something a little bit more meaningful and longer term. That's just my opinion. So that's my analysis of the socket ball. We could talk about how they were young professionals. Again, this is from a class project. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just you need to really test your idea before going to such a big scale on something like this. Yeah, and then when you are testing, they said that one of the founders, I can't remember which one, would go to a community and the kid's face would light up, you know, how awesome is this thing? You know, you kick it around and then it creates light. Again, I mean, that's what we have with a lot of products at first is, oh, it's shiny and new and it's such a cool thing. But after 5 to 10 minutes, that shock and awe wears off and what happens? That toy gets kind of thrown to the wayside. I mean, did they stick around and really see how kids and families would use this thing after the first 5 to 10 minutes of messing around with it? I don't know. So yeah, sexy solutions are not always the best solution, if you will. Sometimes it is something as boring as you know, like mosquito nets, or just like hooking them up to the electricity grid that's already there. So that is an idea I got from a blog on development. I really was paraphrasing with the whole sexy solutions thing. I'll have to link that also in the description below. So yes, thank you Umprakash for pointing out some of these fallacies in development and solutions to development abroad. And I look forward to continue sharing with you all again next week. So stay tuned.